Welcome back to the long-awaited return of Waiting on the Trade, the Dream Journal. I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck, and as always, I'm joined by Matthew Ledger.
Hello.
And Michael Drew.
What's up?
Classic. This episode, we're discussing the Sandman Volume 7, Brief Lives. Going along with us getting things back in motion, this volume returns to the main story of the Sandman. Okay, Matt, what did our Prince of Dreams get up to this time?
Oh, just some kooky fun. Just
So
like
kooky.
hanging out at the beach. Nothing serious in this volume.
Nope.
Being dreamy.
No, but seriously. In Brief Lives, Dream and Delirium hit the road to look for their lost brother Destruction, but what starts as an amusing diversion from Dream's latest dumping quickly becomes serious as the Endless's past actions catch up with them in the present.
Well, guys, what are discussion questions? Because that's the format of this podcast that, of course, we remember
Of course we remember.
how to do.
We don't want to address it all. It's been like half a year since we did one.
No, it's fine. We all remember that we all bring each bring a little discussion question that we talk about.
Good time though to be talking about this volume for us specifically.
What's happening?
I think
Why?
most of us have been through big changes in our lives.
Honestly, I thought you were going to talk about Netflix, but yes, that is true.
Oh, I don't care about Netflix.
Netflix.
You can talk about Netflix though. My wife said we should talk about the Netflix
money.
show so that we can get that Netflix bump. So Sandman is on Netflix, they tell me. So
Oh my God.
watch it. Apparently it's good. Me, I'm not going to
I've
watch
watched
it.
2
I got
episodes.
these comic books.
I also
Oh,
have not watched
Matthew.
it. So.
Patrick. I too have not watched it. I've watched the first 2 episodes. But
How
I'm
like-
scared to continue.
Mike, as our resident Netflix Sandman expert.
The first episode was a 10 out of 10. But you guys both know how I rate shows. So
Is that because Charles Dance was in it?
7 out of 10? 8?
Charles Dance was good, but he wasn't what made it. It was
Ah.
it was good on the fact that it was Sandman. Like it was Sandman.
I mean, Sandman.
It was Sandman on my TV screen. Like it was about as perfect an adaptation as you get of that story.
Wait, how was the second episode?
The second episode was also very good. That was the I think they dove into Cain and Abel, that one.
Oh,
And
okay, interesting. I was going to wonder if they were going to bring those characters in or not.
oh heavens, yes, they're in there. And you also meet Lucian, who is a female. I think Lucia. I can't remember the name. Luciana. They changed her name somehow. But
Sure.
it was good. It was good. I had no complaints, and I want to continue watching, but I think we're to the point in the story where we might start going to places more hellacious. And so far, I haven't had time to watch it without the kids, so that's why we're stuck in episode 2. But I'm concerned it will get graphic very quickly.
I mean, you've read what's going to happen.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
I'd like 24 hours I'm actually kind of interested to watch just to see how they did it because it feels like
heard
it would
good
have to be
things.
very different, but I don't know. Anyways,
It-
that'll do
it's
it
so-
for this
so far,
episode of the Dream Journal in which we talk about the Netflix series Sandman.
Hey!
No, it's a podcast within a podcast. We're talking about.
Yeah, but we
Netflix.
didn't introduce it as a podcast within a podcast, so it's just the podcast.
I'm doing it now.
We're just
No,
doing
no,
the
no.
podcast. A story within
Guys,
a
I'm
story and my Sandman? Get it out of here.
A dream within a dream, if you will.
Oh, that's a good one. Keep that in the
Hey.
back pocket in case we do.
I'll do it.
Oh my god.
Anyway, should we talk about Brief Lives?
There were a lot of cats with tits.
Mike, I have a question about that because you did make a comment about, oh wow, the furries must really like this volume. Did you not see the Ishtar story beforehand? Because there were lots of topless women in that, like more than
I guess.
Bast and her tits.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Ishtar was a strip club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's strip
But
clubbing.
it's the cat lady that really messed you up.
I'm not worried about the strip club's fine. We're gonna visit it in Sandman. I just don't expect my strippers to have the face of a cat. That's where I get a little weirded out. Like, oh god,
That's
the way
where
they-
you draw the line. I'm so
this
disappointed.
line
in
must
you,
be drawn
Mike.
here, this far and no farther. but also
Bess
the
was
fact
just
that
lounging.
yeah, she was. She really was. Okay, no, I get weirded out by furry. Okay,
We've
bye.
flustered Mike with this talk about cat
You
boobs.
flustered me out. I didn't
It's
really
too
want to talk
much.
about cat boobs,
Now
but
the
here we
real
are.
question is, why does she only have 2? She should really have what, 6?
Yep.
That
I
is a
was gonna
damn
bring
good
that up.
point.
Where is
damn
my realism? Gaiman
Humanoid cat
or
people.
Jill
and-
Thompson, whoever is responsible. But yeah,
We're talking about our real questions now instead of how many boobs should this cat cat have. That's my discussion question, though. Sorry, spoiler.
I think I know my question.
Yeah, I think we should probably ease into it with Mike's question because I
I
think
was gonna say the first thing we need to do is figure out the order. You want to do Mike's?
yeah, I think Mike's is a little bit more carefree and a little bit more easy.
Yeah,
to
you guys ask
tackle.
deep fucking questions. You guys need to. You guys are at about 11. I'm at about a 4.
Well,
So
some of us aren't distracted by cat boobs, so we can focus on other things.
you don't know what I'm distracted. Fuck you, right?
Some of us have time to decipher the story's themes and nuances because we're not busy wondering why the strippers aren't cats.
Why are the strippers now?
See?
Okay.
That's a good question. You want to change your question, Mike? We can actually discuss this.
Why are the strippers? Okay. My question, easy as it is, was who is the best sidekick in this story of all the sidekicks that you see?
All right, Mike, I'm going to need you to list all the sidekicks so I can make an educated decision.
Well, I'm
I
going
hope
to
you're
name
prepared for this.
the obvious one, which is Delirium,
All right, that's one.
who I think is a sidekick.
Okay.
I'd say the second sidekick would be the goodest boy,
Barnabas.
Barnabas?
Barnabas. There we go. And who was my third option? There was a third option I had. I swear I can remember.
All right, Matthew the Raven is in this one.
Matthew the Raven. Matthew the Raven.
I
Yep,
think you could
he's in there.
argue for Lucian.
Or Merv?
I don't know if you can argue for Merv. Merv's just doing his own thing, man. Just working.
Lucian's just doing his own thing.
Lucian does like hanging out with Dream like, yeah, I'll run that up the flagpole for you.
Merv's doing all the dirty work. He's dismantling half of the
Yeah,
castle
but Merv's not a
because.
sidekick. He's a contractor. It's different.
Wow.
Merv's gonna submit
Our
a bill at the
contractors
end of the
people.
week.
Can't have blue collar sidekicks, huh? I see how it is.
Matthew's his
Wow.
blue collar sidekick.
I don't see him doing labor.
Just to try to teach
Hey,
Delirium to
teach people how to
drive.
drive.
All
God,
right, all right.
what a panel. Okay,
All right.
but
So I think we should.
I'll answer first.
No, I think we should all answer at the same time because there's a correct answer.
What about
Okay.
wait, what about Ruby? Ruby doesn't count?
No, Ruby doesn't.
Maybe. Yeah, Ruby kind of counts.
Eh,
I would give you that, Pat.
Yes. You guys forget about
Throw it on
Ruby.
the board.
The saddest
Fine.
character in this second
Hey,
saddest
She's a
maybe.
black woman, Pat. She has to
Wow.
die. It's how Sandman
Wow.
works.
I did read a thread about that. That like we'll get into it.
I mean, that's
Okay.
why Lucian's a black woman. I think in the series because like there's gotta be one that doesn't die on TV.
Yeah, black ladies don't have
Fair.
a great time. Okay. Count of 3.
Yeah. 3,
all right.
2, 1.
You did backwards. No, count
Oh,
of 3.
okay.
1, 2, 3. You don't
Barnabas.
go 3.
Oh,
What the
that's
fuck is
where we
going
were.
on?
You said it.
Barnabas is the
Yeah,
right
Barnabas
yes,
is
it's
the correct
Barnabas.
choice.
Yeah, Barnabas is
Okay.
the right
Well, we've
answer.
covered
Okay, well,
Mike's
there we
question.
go.
Let's move on.
Next question.
Yeah, we're so good at this. We're so efficient at podcasting.
Oh man. We could go back to Bass now.
We've got so much time to talk about Captain.
We got so much short time to talk about. Sweet, wonderful. Ah,
No, Barnabas is the right
Yeah.
choice because
he's the goodest boy.
He's sarcastic.
Yeah,
What about goodest
that's
boy? His sarcastic
makes him good.
remarks. Which I have written down. I don't know if you guys want to hear a couple of the best quips.
Oh, yeah,
Shoot.
throw 'em at me.
The first one is after Destruction shows Barnabas' painting he's been working on. Destruction says, the colors could be better choosing my foot. Anyway, I thought dogs were colorblind. Barnabas, yeah, that's a coincidence. I mean, looking at that painting, I thought you were colorblind.
Oh!
And then Destruction says, you know, Barnabas, there are those who claim that for unquestioning respect and eternal devotion, all one needs is a dog. Then Barnabas shoots back, hey, schmuck, devotion you got, perjury ain't in the job description. Hello.
He is very
Can I
good.
tell you my favorite bit though is when he gives actual valid creative writing advice during the poetry session. It's like, hey, you overused the word never.
Using
Yeah,
never too
it's
many
like,
times unless.
hey,
Yeah.
dummy, you said never like 4 times in that stanza. Try harder. You've had years to work on
was
this.
good. Oh, Barnabas.
Never.
Also
Never.
agreeing to go with Delirium, I feel like, gives him a couple
That's-
points.
That's fucking huge, man. Like, she's nuts. She's the embodiment of delirium.
He's gonna die in her realm,
Like,
right?
she makes me
He's gonna
look.
die there.
I was going to say, what does going into the domain of Delirium do to a dog?
I don't know. I hope nothing bad, because poor Barnabas.
I mean, I think he shows up again and he's fine from what I remember. But like, if we were being real,
Yes.
that dog would die in there.
It would not be good.
Yeah.
You'd
Absolutely.
like lose him and forget to feed him, and he'd die in there.
Absolutely. Yep. Unless she has help. No, she wouldn't have helpers. There's no way. Like, there's no way she'd create delirious sidekicks like Lucian and stuff.
I don't
Right?
think she doesn't have the focus to
No,
do that.
it's part of the reason
No.
she even has Barnabas is because I think she mentions earlier in the volume she's like talking about Dream's ravens, and she's like, I should get a animal. Everyone's got an animal except me. It's like, no, you shouldn't have an animal though. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, the animal has
does.
her though,
She
so it's
does.
fine.
That's right. They were very specific that the animal would have her, not the other way around.
Delirium is Barnabas's sidekick. Barnabas is the Batman to her Robin.
I mean, he's the Watson to her Holmes, I feel.
Yeah, that's probably more apropos actually, but
But my question is, do you think Barnabas existed before Destruction? Did Destruction give intelligence to a dog? Like raise the intelligence of a dog?
it's hard to say, right?
Or did Destruction come across Barnabas and
Because
befriend him?
we don't actually get to see Matthew become
Well-
Matthew in this series because it happens in Swamp Thing, right? And like it doesn't seem
That's
like
right,
it's
yeah.
a person to animal situation. It seems like a heightened animal situation, yeah, like you were saying.
This point, I think the only other reference we have to them prior to this point is Bast says that Destruction's companion killed one of her children.
Yeah, which I don't even know if that's Barnabas.
I mean, it's a dog who would kill a cat,
Oh, I guess
right?
that makes sense, yeah. I didn't even think of that. Thanks, Pat. This is why we do a podcast.
Take notes, you notice
Ooh.
things. Other than Bast's tits, which I did notice.
Pardon the miss. Though.
Wonderful.
You know, we talked about how Barnabas might be like a dog with heightened intelligence. Barnabas might just be a dog. They can understand animals.
Oh,
That's
yeah, I mean, that's true.
Actually, right.
Barnabas
Fuck.
might just be a dog.
That is true.
And we're the dummies.
Are dogs just that smart?
Dogs are pretty smart.
I'm trying to think if there's any human that, in the Endless Night story of Delirium, I think Barnabas talks to regular people
Can't confirm.
to help
We'll have to
save
go back and listen to the
Delirium.
episode we recorded. I'm sure we touched on it.
Listeners, go back to our earlier episode on Endless Nights. But yeah, maybe that would be cool.
That's
That
my
makes
new
sense.
theory until disproven, is that Barnabas is just a dog.
All right.
And all dogs
There
would
you go.
critique your poetry if they could.
Oh yeah, no, you know, all dogs are like holding back scathing
Yeah.
remarks.
Oh yeah, my dog gave me some looks
Yeah.
today that I was like, oh god, he's here to tell me about my writing and how it's
jeez.
bad.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, first discussion question crossed off the books.
See, look, that was a great
God.
discussion question. We had
Haven't
So good.
lost
discussions.
it.
There were points made.
Warmed us up, yeah.
Yeah, and now you guys are gonna dive into some shit that I don't know how to answer.
Well, just keep thinking about Bass.
No, he's got to think about eyes. He has to stop thinking about boobs and start thinking about eyes.
Her eyes are
Yeah.
up there.
Mike, you got
Michael.
Look at
Jeez.
the eye.
My question, okay? How did I phrase this? It was the best phrasing. It was the best. of
Otherwise, I've got a
phrasings.
phrasing for you
The
in
worst.
the discussion doc.
My question is there an eye sub-theme going on in this volume? What's with that?
What's the deal with eyes? Apologies.
I don't know if either of you noticed. There are numerous like focus points about eyes in this story, and I noticed it even before I read the conclusion that's in the volume. I don't know if you,
You know, I
guys
did
read
read
that.
it, but I don't remember any of it.
I didn't
Because
read it.
it was brought up in the conclusion as well. But yeah, I've listed here all of the instances where I noticed the eyes.
I did notice it the first time reading through too, like you did, and then reading through again today, I was like, oh, there are a few more of these than I thought. Like this definitely is a thing. So let's have the list, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if you caught any more than I did. Uh, so I think I've caught them chronologically, but we'll see. The first one obviously is Delirium repeatedly asking what the word is for the liquid inside of your eyes, which is vitreous humors, which we find out when Despair finally tells her. Speaking of Despair, the second instance is her self-mutilating her own eye to prevent the painful
Yeah.
memories of destruction.
That one
Yeah.
plays very well into my theory about why the eyes are prevalent. So that's one we'll definitely come back to touch
Okay,
on.
okay. I have the third one being Delirium asking Dream why he doesn't have quote unquote normal eyes like the rest of their siblings. And Dream points out that Destiny is blind, which is, I don't think it's fair because Destiny might just have normal eyes, but he's just blind. Come on, Dream. The fourth one I have is the flashback with Dream and Destruction in like 18th century London. That actually has the Corinthian in it as well,
in
which I
which
thought
he
was
eats an
interesting.
orangutan's
Yeah,
eyes.
just its eyes.
Yeah, he
Yep.
cuts out the dead eyes of a dissected orangutan because Corinthian's got a Corinthian. The fifth one I've got is Dream's eyes slowly take on a more like cat-like appearance as he's
Ooh,
talking to
you missed
Bast
one.
about
Can I
where
back you up?
Destruction is. Did I?
I think you.
Please
Yeah,
do.
because they're still on their journey at this point. So there's a bit where Ishtar and Tiffany are talking about stuff in her apartment, and Tiffany talks about how the one dancer she danced with ended up injecting drugs into her eyes.
Oh yeah, hey, like that, like that. The next one I have is Delirium forcing herself to be sane when Dream is emotionally wrecked after he's told by Destiny that to find destruction he must speak to his son Orpheus. While she is quote unquote sane, Dream points out that her eyes appear to be the same color, even though in the comic book the
I was
coloring
gonna
is
ask you
not
guys if
right
it's
because they
corrected
still
in the
look.
newer
coloring.
volume because I have the '90s one, and I think you guys have newer ones than I do. But yeah,
It was still
okay,
multicolored for me.
yeah.
It's multicolored.
Which I mean, once you get used to
It
coloring the
bothered me.
one character's eyes a certain way, it
Especially
must
when
be
they're
hard to catch
supposed to be
yourself.
mismatched, like every time. It's probably a thing that you look
Yeah.
out for to make sure you do it right, and you're supposed to do it wrong, and it's like, oops, well.
Though interestingly enough, when she's like recounting their adventures to destruction, and she goes to the point where she says, "I had to be, I had to be. It was painful." In that
Same
shot, the
color.
eyes are the same color. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so yeah, that instance. Next one, which I think is my last one, is the very end of the book. We see Desire literally is submerged inside the vitreous humors of their own eye in their giant body-shaped home.
Just something, huh?
Yeah. So there's something there. I don't know if you had any other ones, Matt, but
So some of the ones that I like, it's not that you miss them, it's that they're like kind of oblique. Is there are like lots of mentions of people looking at things or having seen things? Like Ishtar says, like, "Oh, the last time I saw you," when she's talking to Dream, and at the beginning and at the end, Andros is talking about like what he's seeing. Like Andros knows he will not live to see the tree blossom again is the second to last caption of the book. So like
sure,
there's
yeah.
also, in addition to a focus on eyes, like a focus on things people are seeing at the same time.
Yep.
Like
I was about
when
to say
Dream
that.
and Delirium are driving around too, Delirium's not just talking about his eyes, she's talking about the fact that Dream's like looking for something, which apparently he's
Mhm.
looking for his unnamed lover. Which is,
Yeah, I have a theory about who it actually is.
I mean, we find out at some point, I believe.
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I want to talk about when we get to my question is
It,
Dream's unnamed lover. But yeah, so there's also a focus on people looking for or searching or seeing stuff too, in addition to the
Mhm.
eye stuff. So
at the beginning of the last book, you literally see the first page and a half, 2 pages, from Orpheus's point of view.
yep,
I
yeah, he's looking
I
out.
enjoyed that.
Seeing through his
Yeah,
eyes. Yeah.
seeing through Orpheus's eyes.
It's a good point.
Oh, it
Mike.
definitely is a thing. Pat bringing the like galaxy brain questions once again. Very happy about it.
Well, I noticed it and I didn't have like a concise answer. I'm like, oh, hey, a thing that could be discussed without having an actual answer to it.
How in my
Let's
podcast?
do it.
So I think I have an answer.
Please do. Please do.
I think it's a kind of a weird answer. I'm not sure it completely works, but it seems to work well enough for me. I think it's because the volume's all about change, right? Like people changing and things changing and like not being what they were. And I think the primary way you take that in and process it is through sight. Like you can,
Yeah,
I
sure.
think you can hear that things change and like you can feel that things change, but for the most part, like when you think about things changing, you think about them being visually different, right?
Well, numerous characters in this volume point out that Dream appears changed.
Yep, yeah, and like appears, right? Not like
Yeah.
is. So I think that's part of it. And what kind of clued me in on that was Ishtar and Dream talking and her talking about like she hasn't seen him in so long, and I'm trying to remember if she says he has changed or he hasn't changed, because that's a big deal.
He denies it all the time.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he never says he changed.
Yeah.
No, he refuses
Classic
to.
Dream.
Oh yeah, the last time I saw you was 2,000 years ago. You told me you thought I was a bad influence on your brother. So like, that's part of it, is that people in this volume are mostly reacting to changes in themselves or changes in others, and a lot of the way you see those changes is through sight, right? And like that's
Sure.
why I wanted to talk about despair, like clawing at her eyeball, is like like despair's trying to like distract herself from the feelings she has about destruction leaving, like a big change in their family dynamic. And the way she does that is like literally clawing out her eye so she can't like see it. I don't like it doesn't not an exact fit, but I think there's a lot of imagery in the volume that sort of links people's sight with their perception of what's going on in their lives and other people's lives. And like how people see themselves and others. So I think that's it. But I don't know.
I like it.
I mean, it's far more in depth than my answer, which was basically that we're seeing Dream from other people's point of view, and we're trying to. I don't really think it's a full thought. I don't actually have a full answer, so I think Matt's is better than mine.
We don't need to rank our answers. It's okay.
Number one.
I rank my answers. I picked up on it too, not as much as you did. Like I definitely caught in the last book that there was something going on because the giant zoom in on the eye at the very end, and with Orpheus's point of view at the beginning, which Orpheus is looking at. Okay, he sees delirium briefly, but at his father, and he's like it's very clearly a picture of Morpheus that he's seeing. And I mean, kind of talking about delirium too, like her discussing eyesight in regards to dreams. So I'm wondering if he's changing because other people's opinions of him are changing. Like if people are
That's
seeing him
interesting,
as more
actually.
sympathetic.
Well, I mean, we know that the endless are what people expect them to be, right? Their function is whatever people need them to be. So in that way, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if that's what is intended, but I'm not sure it's wrong. So I don't know. I don't need to understand to enjoy it.
I mean, I think that's fair. Like, there's that bit at the end where the griffins on Dream's doors like don't recognize him, and that bit always throws me off because like he looks the exact same, so they must be reacting to something that's like inside him, right? Like,
well, I mean, he just murdered his son. He literally has his son's
well, yes,
blood
but I
still
mean,
on
like
his
he
hands.
doesn't like. If I look really sad because I murdered my son, I still look like me, right? Like they don't even know that it's him at first.
But I mean, the endless don't really have a shape, right? They have.
So I mean, yes. I think we're both getting to the same thing, kind of like there's something in his actual essence that they don't recognize.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. And then if Mike's right, like does that then start like a weird feedback loop?
Right.
Because we've heard this come up. We've seen it come up in the past. funnily enough, during the discussion about cats, where if all the cats dream at once, they can change the world into a different world. Where, never mind.
So many. My gosh, the possibilities.
I can't. I just didn't expect when we started 40 minutes ago that my entire night was just gonna be a discussion of
I didn't actually mean to take us here. I was more commenting on the fact that it disturbed me, and now we're here, so it's fine. But no, it would make sense that he would change as well, but it wouldn't just be reality, but he could also be affected.
Yeah, I wonder if you've hit that critical threshold or not, though, where like it would actually be enough people and or entities, because a lot of them are non-person entities also, and I don't know what effect that has. I don't have the endless source book in front of me to open up and read the rules, unfortunately, but it's an interesting thought for sure.
Yeah, and just to jump back to Orpheus real quick, because I think you guys are onto something with the fact that Dream is shaped by outside influence almost as much as his own. But I think Orpheus, I think there's something there where, as Mike pointed out, we're seeing the world, like Orpheus's life, through his eyes. And being a severed head on a counter, his world doesn't change all that much. The fact that there is such a lack of change in his existence, the fact that he can't really, he forgets his caretakers' names so much, like he just has no real connection to life. I think there's something there as well. The fact that his eyes are so fixed on one point, like unless someone moves his head, he's looking in one direction.
Yeah, things do not change for him because
And in that way,
he does
like
not
his
move.
life is, like his life has no meaning. He's like begging for death. And
Yeah, I mean, Dream even says, right, that he died however many years ago when Eurydice died.
yeah. So yeah, I think Mike, you have good points to make. You should not undersell your answer. It's great.
Okay.
Also, cat tits are nice. So there you go. No, but my answer is similar. I had the whole like contrite eyes are the window to the soul. Windows to the soul. Looking at someone's eyes tells you a lot about them. Eyes have a way of quote unquote humanizing a person. So like looking at the eyes of death is always like presented as a warm figure. Like she doesn't have the void darkness of Dream when she looks at someone. They're just human eyes that have humanized her.
Huh.
I see. Thank you. And I think that's why Dream has those pitch black eyes that only have like pinpricks of light in them. It's because he tries to keep everything so hidden and private.
He's so serious.
He doesn't want to give anything away.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. And I do think like Delirium's eyes are worth talking about in that regard too.
Yeah, the next point I had was Delirium being in the constant state of flux. The fact that she can't hold her own personality together long enough to make like a cogent sentence is reflected in her eyes. The fact that her eyes are mixed matched and have like silver flecks dancing through them. She can't be herself long enough to be like recognized really.
Yeah,
In the moment that she is, it causes her physical pain.
And in my take of it too, part of that was that she can't even like process the events going on around her too. Like there's one big change in her life that she's got like locked in, but other than that, she like just doesn't process things in the same way. So like if the eyes are the intake of all the things that are happening to her, like her eyes are messed up. It's like she's not processing it right. And that's why she acts as like unstably as she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think all of us had right
Look
answers.
at us. Guys, high five. We did a thing.
Did it.
Oh, we're back. Nothing has changed.
No, we've changed. We've changed because we successfully read about the change.
There are cat tits now. It's all changed.
There are cat.
No,
cats have
you're
tits.
doing so well. It's such a good streak. I think that brings us to my question, which is, has Dream actually changed since the series began? Because lots of people keep telling us that he has. To the point that, like I said, his griffins don't recognize him at the end, apparently, because he's changed so much? Question mark. Like, how do we feel as people who have been reading this entire series for a very long time now, if you factor in the break? Like, do you think the character of Dream has changed significantly since the start of the series? And do you think he's changed so significantly that, like, the people around him should be noticing?
I would say that he's changed, yeah.
All right, how so? Lay it on me, Pat.
So this volume starts with just an amazingly emo Dream, just literally making it pour in Dreamland because he wants to stand out in the rain and look into the distant horizon.
See, and that's not changed to me. That's exactly what he would do, right?
It's not. It's the exact thing you would expect from him. In fact, Lucian like lists out all the other times a woman has dumped him and he's done similar ridiculous nonsense to self-pity. But I think the fact that he snaps out of it so quickly through this volume, like Lucian says, it was literally like hundreds of years before in past breakups. It's taken him hundreds of years to get over it. This is what? A week?
Yeah, not even, probably, right?
Yeah, about.
Yeah, in endless
that
time,
way.
it's like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Like, I think, yes, we see Dream as his normal, emo, callous, brooding self in the beginning, but I think he's definitely changed because he snaps out of it so quickly.
Yeah, and I think part of the... Well, first, digression, because I feel like we have to
Please.
talk about this quick.
Yeah.
We never get the name of Dream's lover. Like, it's just literally a prop for the story.
I never
Sure,
got
but they
that.
tie it in later.
Kind of. I remember reading later on, like, they kind of, like, mention it, and I remember being pretty disappointed in that also. So, I mean, like, we don't see the relationship. Like, right? We see nothing of the
I mean,
relationship.
that's quintessential Dream. The woman doesn't matter. It's the emotions he's feeling in the moment.
What the hell,
Oh,
Pat?
that's too real, Pat. Too real.
Did anyone else fucking love when Ishtar said to him, "You don't like women, do you?"
No, I was like, oh,
Like,
thank God
oh
someone
yes,
said
Ishtar,
it.
you fucking nailed it.
She did.
Yeah,
At
he
least
doesn't
the
care
text
about
knows.
his lover anymore. He cares about what she did to him.
Yeah.
But that's
That
the
is-
old Dream.
That's the old Dream. That's so 60 pages.
he's moved past that now. At least he's done so faster than he ever has before.
I do think the fact that he's willing to skip out on the dreaming to go help Delirium, and like
Yeah.
that's the way he's gonna get over this, is actually a really big change, right? Because that's the opposite of what you think he'd do. Because
Well, his siblings are all like, "Oh wow, you actually gave her the time of day? What? I wasn't
not even
expecting
that,
that."
it's good that he helped her, right? Like that's kind of new, but I think like the biggest thing to me is that he was like willing to jump out of the dreaming, because he seems like what he would do is throw himself into his responsibilities, which is what he's going to do at the end of the volume, apparently, right? He's after he comes back after having killed Orpheus, he's like, I got a job.
Gotta distract myself.
I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna do my job.
Yeah.
Could a depressed person do all this? Instead of that, at the front, he throws himself into a side quest, essentially, which is like totally not Dream. Dream doesn't do side quests.
Well, yeah, and the fact that the quest is to find destruction is also a huge deal. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, which he's not really doing, though. He's actually still being really selfish and just going to Earth for himself. But
right, he wants to maybe find the woman that broke. What are the chances, Dream? What is the chances that you would run into her?
I mean, pretty high if he wanted to, right? Like, he could just go there.
But I mean, in that way, maybe he's lying to himself. That he's saying to himself, well, I'm going to go with Delirium on this ridiculous trip to Earth, to the waking world, not to find destruction. I don't want to find destruction. I'm doing it to find my ex-lover. I want to see what she's doing. That's why I'm doing it. So maybe he's lying to himself.
Of both of them at the start. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, they go to travel the world via airplane and car.
Yeah.
And they're the Endless. They don't have to travel the world via airplane and car.
I thought that part I found hilarious. Dream sitting in coach. It looks
It's first class. It's first
sorry.
class.
You're right. It's, of course, it's first. But I'm just imagining kids running up and down the aisle, and he does have the interaction with the kid, which I found really cute. I think that's the cutest part
so
of the story.
uncomfortable in that very first panel of them being on the airplane. It's hilarious.
Yep.
But you
It's
get
like,
that really
okay.
good interaction, like Am I dreaming about knowing how to fly, or do I just forget when I wake? That's some pretty deep shit from a little girl.
That's
Yeah.
that's some deep shit, and I thought it was great. I love that part.
So there's a bit in this scene that I want to make sure we talk about because it's
On the
the
plane?
panel that's been stuck in my brain since like March when we originally read this and we were going to record and we didn't get to it because at least 2/3 of our lives blew up over the course of the summer.
Yeah.
So there's the panel. Well, it's two panels, I guess, but the important one's the second one. It's Dream and Delirium talking in the seats, and Dream says something to the effect of like, what's his name? The travel guy, Pheromone.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
Fernand.
quit being a god. And Delirium's like, oh, I didn't know you could stop being a god. And Dream's like, you can stop being anything. It's like, that's, huh. That to me is
Oh,
like a big change line, actually. And like a very important line for the series going forward, too. Like, Dream is the guy who like will not stop being Dream, right? Like that's him being him is what he is. So for him to even acknowledge that as a possibility and like a universal possibility, like not people can stop being anything or like gods can like it's you can stop being anything. Like all of us can stop being anything.
Well, I mean, isn't destruction living an example of that for him, though? Like, he's seen
yeah.
an example of an endless not be an endless.
Yeah, which is what Delirium asked him, right? Is like, what
Yeah.
about our brother? And he doesn't really even have an answer to that, which I think is also telling. Because, like, I don't think he's even willing to admit to himself at that point that destruction has stopped being destruction. It's just like a blip. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he'll stop this. This is just a phase. We're the
He's
endless.
coming
It's
back.
been 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyways, those two panels to me are panels that have really stuck with me, especially
Yeah.
as my life has been in upheaval for the past 6 months since we were gonna record this for the first time. Like the "you can stop being anything" line is
You can stop being anything, Matthew.
turns out you can, and then you can start being other things, which is nice too. But we should continue.
I was gonna.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think my answer is that he has.
Yeah.
In that he's actually starting to respond to real pain as opposed to um, s- imagined slights. Not saying that a breakup is an imagined slight, but
Melodrama pain, yeah.
melodramatic bullshit. Like, come on, Dream. You are an adult endless who's, in theory, been in an adult relationship in the past with adult corporeal beings. Potentially, I would think. Um, but
a billion-year-old entity in a
yeah,
relationship with, I mean, even
uh,
something that's only 1,000 years old. That's cradle robbing right there.
that is Cradle Robin.
That's pretty
But my
messed up, really, when you think about it.
but the and how long did this relationship last? It couldn't have lasted long. It was between the books.
We've
It was
never
We
between
never even
see
see,
volumes,
any of it.
we didn't see a damn bit. So at
like
tops,
6 months,
The
maybe.
maybe
first time
six
I
months,
read this
maybe a
book,
year. Who knows?
the first time I read this book, I literally thought I missed comics. I thought I missed a part of the series. I was like, oh, I missed a big thing where he was like in a
Yep.
relationship. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, there's nothing.
No.
Cool.
And going back to the first book, he's held in a cage for nigh a century, and he just sits there staring and brooding. I think he actually preferred that because then he could be like, at least in here, I get to be the good guy and I can stare at people all day, and like uh, coming out of a relationship, he acts like a goddamn teenager, which. Not to be not slighting on teenagers at all, but it 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 really comes across in this book that he's not the adult in the room. Like
I
it
mean,
takes
not in this
delirium.
instance, at least, right?
Yes, not in this instance. But I mean, the fact that delirium is his primary companion through the book, uh, and delirium almost at times look. I mean, at sometimes more than others, is more mature than him. At least in a few. I'm trying to think of the exact cases. Of course, the time when she pulls herself together.
I was gonna say, I don't know if mature is the right word, but definitely
That's
like
your
composed.
Yeah, there we go. That's correct. Um, but I think by the end of the book, we are seeing him. Like, of course, he has to kill more Orpheus, and now we're seeing him actually reacting in a way that is. I'm not going to say healthy because I don't know what a healthy way to respond to that would be. But we're not seeing him standing out in the pouring rain, and we're not seeing him just everything that the character said that he would do over the next century.
Yeah,
No,
We're
like
seeing
it's
him.
a real response, and it's a subtle response, right? It's not.
Yep.
I'm going
It's
to.
not.
It's not. I'm going to banish someone to hell for thousands of years.
Yep.
It's. I'm going to sit in this chair and think about my life.
I'm gonna follow her to work, and then I'll see her, and then she'll see me, which is what he was doing.
You know, I'm just driving around America. I'll run into her eventually. How big
Yeah,
can America
eventually.
be?
Exactly. So I think he is changing, and I think this book demonstrates it better than any of the previous ones.
Yeah,
But
we certainly see more progress in it than we have in the other ones.
Yeah.
I pointed out the flashback with destruction in Corinthian in the 18th century London. I think is a good juxtaposition of where he was and where he is.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's partly in there for that reason, right? You see him just be so cruel to that guy in the street, and like he's actually kind at times in this volume in a way that he's not. Oh, like we talked about in I think volume 1, right? How we were like, dude's mean. Like he's really mean. Like he's been getting kinder a little bit over time, but I think you really do see it in this volume, and you're supposed to see it.
Well, I mean, as he's going through this journey and the quote unquote mortals, some longer lived than others, are dying, unbeknownst to them because of their quest. And they're, both Delirium and Dream are pretty callous as they walk by. Like the lawyer has died, and they're like, "Oh, he's dead. Let's talk to his son." And then like Delirium forgets that they talked to the lawyer. It's like, "Oh, should we talk to the lawyer?" And then someone says, "Oh, he died." And says, "Oh, that's right, I forgot." And she doesn't care because obviously she wouldn't care.
Nope.
Yeah.
And then Ruby, we get that like few lines of what her life goal is, and like Gaiman humanizes her as a person with wants and dreams, and then we find out that she burned to death moments after.
Yeah, and
Thanks, Gaiman.
to like keep with your point about Delirium and Dream's different responses, Delirium's response is, "Oh, cool, I get to drive," and Dream
Ooh, I
actually
get to
gives a
drive.
shit. Like Dream gives a shit. Dream talks about it
Well,
when
yeah.
they get to Destruction's house, and he's like, "Well, that wasn't right." And Destruction's like, "You care about that? Who are you? Go home."
Well, it's also part of the reason why I decided to come back, because he wanted those deaths to have meaning. Like if they died because they were on this course and they stop and don't reach the end, then they died for no
And see, that
point.
actually kind of fits with his previous characterization to me of like, he started this thing, there were consequences, so like, as a matter of form, he has to finish the thing. Like that kind of fits, but I think it is a shift, right? Like there is like a turning of it, so it's still
Yes, but they're like
in his character,
nobody's.
but different.
Like nobody knows about them. Like
Yeah,
he didn't really know that they were dying. Like because of him. That was just an assumption up until Destruction says, "Yeah, I put in place mechanisms that would prevent people from helping you." So we didn't
Yeah,
really
just
know it
to
was
kill
his
them
fault.
all.
Yeah, I mean, your destruction. What's going to happen when
Yeah,
you
I mean,
cross
it
it?
makes sense.
And like, Dream
One
didn't
got
even know about
destroyed.
Ishtar blowing herself up. So, yeah, and I think
I
there was
mean,
a
if you're leaving a strip club, you don't look back. You're getting out.
You know what happened in this book and didn't need to be in the book? Etane, is that her
hat
name?
tits.
Like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean that too. I really wish that hadn't have happened because it's eaten up about a half hour of my evening.
No.
Honestly.
It's very important, as we have discussed before.
Like I think her name is Etane. Like her
Etten,
apartment
yeah.
blows up, and we never see her again.
And she jumps to a different plane of existence.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, the bear guy we also never see again, I guess, but like that was at least interesting. I don't know.
He turned his clothes to rocks and then unrocked them with bear piss. It was wonderful.
It was a great. I think it was in there because I think those two knew what was coming. They're like, "Oh shit, someone's looking for us, and we got to get the hell out."
No, I know, but it's
And
just like, I mean, it does show us as the reader, like, hey, the people in this path are figuring it out, and there are real consequences. but like also they never show up again. So like, yeah,
That's also part of the reason why I love the Sandman so much, is because there are just ideas thrown in that don't have conclusions or endings. Like the whole thing about there are over 1,000 humanoid entities on Earth that are. I remember the saber-toothed tiger, and there were only 70 entities that were here when Earth congealed. Like that was really cool shit.
yeah.
And it sort of sets up like the people that we meet on like later on in the story, but not really. It was just like,
Yeah,
by the
it's just kind of
way,
cool shit.
this world is fucking weird, and the people you see around you may not be the people you think they are. That's like, oh, Gaiman, that's fucking cool, awesome. That's why I read this shit. So yes, the fact that Eden doesn't really do anything, and the fact that she like couldn't put her clothes on before she had to go to Target or wherever it was. That was funny. They like name dropped Target. Yeah, it didn't do anything, but at the same time,
Yeah,
the
that's
old
the one that's
dude
most
pissed
like
around his
that
clothes and they
most
turned to
stands
rock,
out
and
to
that
me, I
was
guess, because
cool.
it's not even cool. It's just a bomb goes off. Like I can just read superhero comics
Sure.
for that. But if a bear eats its own shadow off of it, oh, I'm here for that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so I think both Mike and I say he has changed, Matthew. Do you not agree?
No, I agree. I just wanted to talk
Okay.
about it.
Oh, what have you done? You've fixed me.
I just wanted to talk about it a bit. I don't know. I had so many like roundabout thoughts about this volume. This volume was actually really hard to like try to figure out a
Nail down.
question for. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really easy time coming up with questions.
It's true.
Yeah, you did. Like, I also
Just gotta
do
try
kind of
harder.
want to talk about Destruction's whole deal, so we can definitely do that if you want to, Pat. Because, like, that's so much of what I wanted to, like, I almost was trying to figure out, like, my question was almost like, is it selfish for Destruction to not pass on his mantle?
Yes.
Because, like, I don't know, it's weird. Anyways, you should probably start with your bit.
Yeah, no, my sub question is, what's the deal with destruction?
Wait, no,
Like,
you
who
didn't
is
do it
he?
right. You gotta do, what's the deal with
What's
Mrs.
the
Rush?
deal?
Apologies,
Yeah,
apologies.
I can't do
A
it.
guy likes the arts. He wants to be an artist. He's a
But
yeah,
like, first off, what is like the role of the endless destruction? What is that?
I mean, what's delirium, honestly? That's
to
my question.
Well, delirium is like a state of non-sanity.
Yeah, but was
Like,
delight, though? So, like, delight
yeah,
goes with despair, and they're both, like, branches of desire, right? Kind of. So, like, but then delight
Sort of.
becomes. This is, like, it all starts breaking down for me a little bit at this point, because then delight becomes
but like
delirium.
you, sure. I mean, but my thing is like, what is destruction? Like, obviously, destroying things is destruction, but what is that in the context of the universe? Like, I'm pretty sure in Endless Nights they say that destruction is like powering suns. Like he is the most powerful thing in the universe because the means of like fusion and fission and all that stuff,
Is a form of destruction, yeah.
molecules breaking down, yeah, is him.
I mean, destruction is, like, the engine of
But
the
is he
universe,
also says,
right? Kind of, in a way, like.
yeah, so he's change as
Yeah,
well,
which
right?
is
He
like
says
another
that he is
question I was trying to
change.
figure out was like, okay, so delight becomes delirium and destruction still exists. But like, has he become something else at this point? Because he's trying to create
Well,
stuff?
yeah, so
And like,
like,
what D word is
is
that?
this
I couldn't figure it out. So we didn't do that question either.
and there's also
He's
like
got
he's
low key
left
Bob Ross vibes.
he's just left whatever mechanism is running destruction to its own devices. Like it's doing what it does by itself.
Yeah, which how does that work?
So, I mean,
So it's just like
there's the
there
whole
would be
thing
guardrails,
where,
but instead there aren't. Is that the
well, that's my point. Like,
Yep.
he points out that, yes, my own friends and a former lover were killed because of my preparations. But for me to have stopped them from dying, I would have had to take up the mantle of destruction again, and that was something I was not willing to do. So he is making a selfish choice, not because he could
He could have saved him.
mold destruction to be whatever he wants it to be if he were to take up the endless role of destruction again.
But he can't quite, obviously, right? Because otherwise he, like, part of what sets him down the path to leaving is seeing different civilizations repeat the same cycles again and again. So, like, there must be some limits to his like the corralling he can do, or like the guardrails he can put in place, right?
Well, I think it would be the difference between a nuclear bomb killing off an entire continent and a nuclear bomb killing off only a certain number of people. Like, he could save things if he wanted to, but he may not be able to stop like the progress happening.
So how do you feel about destruction heretofore being known as design?
But I don't,
It's
I
not
don't
quite it, right? See, I couldn't get it.
see the way that I was like, is destruction just entropy? At the end of the day, is he just entropy?
Kind of, but some of the people are making choices to destroy things. So it's not just like things fall apart. It's
But even if they didn't make the choice to destroy it, eventually those things would be destroyed.
yeah. I mean, kind of.
Nothing is eternal. So like, I've never been able to nail this
Then where
character
does
down.
that
Like all the
cross
other
with
endless,
death
you can like
also,
get the
right? Like-
concept. Yeah, and like, is destruction also the aging process? Like you build a house and then the wood starts to rot. Is that rotting of the wood
And is that
destruction, or is it only at the moment that it collapses that it ceases to be the thing that it was? Is that
See, and I
destruction?
think there's a difference between
I'm
like
here for Theseus ship.
yeah, sort
Yeah,
of.
exactly.
Like there's also a difference between destruction and decay, right? Like destruction is
Yeah,
like a choice,
but
and
it's a
decay is
slow
thing that
process of
happens.
destruction, though. But like a rotting beam will eventually
Yes,
fall.
yeah, but has it been
And
destroyed?
when it falls, is that destruction? Well, what it was, I mean, the beam itself still exists to some point, but then we get into entropy again, that it
You know
will
what was a good
eventually...
discussion? Cat boobs. Let's talk about some cat boobs.
When
Mike,
the
those boobs will
start
not always be
sagging,
there.
is that decay or
They will start to
destruction?
sag.
And when does it become a matter
You got to
that
coach
death
it in
has to
terms
step
that Mike
forward?
understands.
And I think part of it is also we do kind of get to see him doing his job a little bit in flashbacks, I guess, but not to the
Sort
same
of. He has a
degree.
weird, like, superhero look.
I think part of it is also is that like destruction is an act, and a lot of the endless are like states.
Concept. Yeah. Like, desire and despair are emotions, basically.
I mean, like, death is an act, I guess, but like that's a pretty clear one.
A
Yeah.
state of being. Dream is also a state of consciousness.
We didn't talk about Delirium saying that there's stuff that exists outside Destiny's book, also, which like that doesn't make
That
any
was
sense to me, given the rules I know.
I mean, it was a cool scene
Yeah, but like, how does that work?
where she gets to
man?
talk down to her older brother.
Also, it
Well, I
appears to
mean,
not be true so
if-
far from what I've seen.
If you abandon sanity, like if the rules of the universe no longer have sway over you, then yeah, you could think outside the box.
Can you think outside the book?
Yeah, I don't know.
And just
But yeah, destruction has
don't know.
always been really confusing to me. I don't quite
pickled the crack,
get
that's
him.
for sure.
And I do think him abandoning his role is selfish, which is part of the reason why Dream has such a hard time.
Yeah, definitely, right? Which makes
So,
that
yeah.
conversation between
know.
them right before he heads off like that much more poignant, of like being the ultimate stickler for responsibility versus the ultimate it's fine. They'll get by. They'll-
Like, no one likes destruction, right? Like, people...
Oh, you mean people?
Delirium
if you're on
does.
the opposite side of it, you're a proponent of it, but eventually that'll be turned on you, and you'll have
I mean,
destruction.
there's a lot of people that
upon
like
you.
destroying things, man. I don't know.
Other things, I don't know. I think there's always going to become a point where destruction does something to you that you don't like. Entropy, man. Eventual heat death in the universe. It's going to happen. Did you guys think it was interesting that they said that they mentioned the universe, the fact that the endless are entities in our universe, which I thought was an interesting nod to the fact that there are multiverses,
Yep.
and that
That's
once
DC,
our
of course.
universe ceases to be, death will like take Destiny's book, and then they say, well, death will be the only thing that remains, right?
Yeah.
Is what they were saying. I thought, whoa, that's some crazy
Yeah, it's pretty
thoughts
fun.
right there.
So death is basically immortal.
Well, she has nothing to do. Like, she just exists. But then if there's no one to die, how can she? I don't know.
Does
I
death
don't know,
die
man.
and that's it?
Does another death from another universe come
Whoa.
for our death?
Shit, man. I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out.
Right? Crazy shit.
I'm betting that Neil Gaiman will go into great detail about that.
Just like those cat tits.
Again, not me this time.
Well, that'll do
That
it
one's
for
not
this
me.
episode of The Dream Journal. We'll be back
It's
next
been great,
time.
guys. I've missed this. You know?
We really need to do this more often, guys.
I mean, we
don't.
will. I'm going to take this one
Fingers
back to the
crossed.
library tomorrow and get the next one on hold. Ooh, baby.
Oh damn. Oh damn.
Meow.
God damn it.